I don't know what my fans today will take from them. I mean, maybe they'll see a little bit of my style. Maybe they'll see a little bit of my head in there. There's always something instinctive. I mean, you can look at an artist's work, even if he changes styles over the years. You can always maybe see a little something there that connects you or says, oh yeah, I can recognize that. I can see the person in there. I don't know.
This right here is the Blair headstone, which we noted before that had like nothing on it until we realized that it was a family plot. I feel like, they have like pennies on here. They also have ones like that for the Myers one. Just any and also the Kramer one. Any headstone that was filmed prominently at night.
Look at this thing. We still remember. I don't. I don't even remember what the man looks like.
These Grace B or George H. They were long dead by the time, Night of the Living Dead, was being made. In death, they were immortalized on film. It's kind of weird, I just kind of didn't know that. I wonder what they would say, what kind of I don't know, what kind of stories they'd have to tell, these people lived lives, they had memories, they had families, experiences, friends. And now, they can't, those experiences don't matter because now they're in the ground. How's it going? And it's kind of weird because it's kind of like any other cemetery, the dead can't talk, but in Evans City Cemetery they can walk. The most quiet place ever is a cemetery, it just seems like some place where nothing horrible could ever happen, and it's that subversion of expectations that kind of makes the opening of Night of the Living Dead so iconic and impactful for the rest of the movie, because the audience just doesn't see it coming. You know what? As Johnny would say, put some spit and shine on it. Put it up next time. I don't know how they would. Yeah, it seems. Nah. There we go. Alright. That seems about.
I think you had it right the first time. Look at the little stand there.
Oh, that's true.
I think that's where they
Alright.
at.
That's cool. That's cool, Bubby. You know what? It's kind of weird because yeah, it has kind of relation to Day of the Dead because the zombie in that movie is called Bub. So weird shit happens. This was the bridge where George Costanza and Billy Cardell were at, where it was like on the TV and stuff, which is kind of weird because like it's Night of the Living Dead, so it takes place at night, but it's like it's in the middle of the daylight, even though it's supposed to be happening live. But you know, it's like whatever, fuck it. It had those kind of imperfections, but it's like I don't know, like it just felt. It still felt genuine, even though there are like inconsistencies with like the time of day and stuff. I don't know. It's just like I don't like the people lined up, you know, smoking cigarettes and, you know, holding their rifles. I don't know, it's just like this is a good area, you know, people fucking playing baseball, you know. It's like people have been living here their like whole lives. And it's like I remember we saw like a bunch of headstones that had like the exact same name on it and stuff. It's like people like live and die here in Evans City, which is kind of, you know, it's kind of cool, but it's also kind of like, man, some people don't like, you know, it's like a cycle sort of, you know, or we like, you know, we live, we have a job, and then we die. But in the case of Evans City, you know, they die and then they come back to life. What I like about like Evans City is that like it feels like it has a sense of community. I feel like everybody like knows each other, you know. It's really like chill. Kind of reminds me of home, you know. Probably because of how hilly it is. It was a community. It was back in 1967 when they started making it. You know, it's a community now. I don't think it's ever going to change. It hasn't changed that much. There was like a few, like there was like arches over the bridge. But other than that, it's like not much. But it doesn't look exactly the same, but I feel like it feels the same, I guess. You know, this is the same thing, like hearing the water come down is the same thing that like all the people in the movie heard who were in the scene. Yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
That was real good.
Yeah.
I turned it off.
Oh, what? What the fuck is going on? Do you see the fucking fire? Do you see that fire going on over there?
Heaven help us, firelight, won't you let me be? I feel so heavy.
The crazy.
Alright, so right now we're in the heart of Evans City. And right here is the Evans City post office, which was in a shot of the crazies. And that was pretty much in montages of like the soldiers in the hazmat suits kind of coming in, like rallying up all like the infected who were still in the town, killing people, taking their jewelry and stuff, their belongings. It was all about that kind of era of America where people didn't really trust the government that much anymore.
What were his movies like, Nolan?
His movies were very socially like aware. They were very socially conscious. The best horror movies kind of like hold the mirror up to like society as a whole. Halloween did that, where it's pretty much like showing that like kind of suburbia and kind of that middle class type thing can like make people like it can give people a false sense of security. The thing about the crazies was that like people were the infection or the virus in that movie was very reminiscent of like the kind of chemical warfare that was going on in Vietnam, like Agent Orange and all that. And it still it's still like relevant today, because like back in 2014 everybody was afraid that like Ebola was going to get out and like kill everybody. And the thing here is that
Only a nation of unenlightened half-wits could have taken this beautiful place and turned it into what it is today, a shopping mall. A big fucking shopping mall.
You know what my favorite line from Dawn of the Dead is?
What?
It's the scene where Tom Savini is trying to stab at Ken Foree. Ken Foree like climbs up into the vents, and then like Tom Savini sees him climb up into the vents and like close it up, and then he's swinging his sword at it, and he's like, "I see you, chocolate man." So it's pouring down with rain. And I was like figuring we could like do some outside shots, but now we're in the car. We saw some cool stuff. The spot where Savini like did a bomb-ass barrel roll across an opening to a store. So that was pretty cool. We saw the ceiling, but they took out the original JC Penney's and replaced it with a with a Cinemark theater. I don't know, it shits in my Captain Crunch, I guess. I don't know. The reason people like Dawn of the Dead as much as they do, it's kind of like a what would you do situation. I think what people like about it is it's a mix of humor and like horror in the midst of like the dead coming back to life. People are like coming in and throwing pies in like the zombies' faces, but there's like a juxtaposition that was at the end of the film, and near the beginning they're like euthanizing corpses. They go into a project to kill the zombies that have been like tucked away by like the people in the project. It feels like real, like take out the zombies and it's like people like military or like the authorities raiding like a project. They couldn't be they could not be looking for zombies. They could be looking for like drugs, weapons,
Right.
criminals. Take that imagery out of context without any zombies, and it would ring true to real life and what was happening during that time, and what still a lot of what's still happening with police brutality and whatnot. But there's also like the comedy where it's like once they hit the mall, like the characters are having like the time of their lives. Ken Foree like picks up a zombie and just like throws it down, to the first floor. They eventually like yell the zombies out, but one of the characters is bitten and then dies. And then it's like it's kind of that harsh reality where they're like thrown back into the fact that like outside the world is like crumbling,
Right.
And it's like zombies in a mall is always like, it's kind of obvious like the satire in that, kind of representing like American consumers as mindless corpses, like just walking around aimlessly.
That's a good point.
But it's also like at that point where it's like they have the mall all to themselves and their lives feel so empty. And there was like this one shot I really like between Steven and Fran, where it's like a single shot without movement. It's kind of like a painting almost, where it's like it's zooming out and showing them just in bed, like just like not staring, not like even looking at each other, but just like looking in like opposite directions. Just kind of like there's an emptiness in that shot. I think the message of that is like no matter what. We could have everything we ever need, but like not have a connection to each other. And when like the biker gang shows up, it picks up the pace again, where it's like it's super action packed, and it's like when you see Peter like go back into like his SWAT team jumpsuit, it's kind of like putting the gloves back on, you know, and then like it's kind of like a return to form. It's kind of like a defining characteristic of him, like is back. Like it's kind of like the Peter we know. It's weird because we're only with these characters for like 2 hours. We can feel so connected to them. When they succeed in something, like, you know, we're laughing along with them. When shit hits the fan, we feel that they're so like simply defined. It's weird because we know nothing about them. We didn't really have an idea of like what their story was, except their like profession. I guess it's because they're smart and we can think like them.
And I'm frequently there and would like to meet you. It's wonderful to go and be able to see films, old films, new films, just wonderful films that someone has selected with a real eye for good cinema. And I hope to see you there.